Well, hi. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Nikki, and my friend here is...
My name is Kseniia, and this is exactly why the free will was a mistake.
We have not planned an introduction.
I actually planned some introductions.
Okay, do you want to go do your introduction?
Yes, yes. The evolution gave humankind the ability to communicate verbally. But that doesn't mean that you have to open your mouth and speak. However, we will. Hi, this is Two Girls, One Plot.
First plot, we have decided, with no amount of bias, to discuss the Harry Potter book series. In light of the new show coming out, which we're very excited to watch, we want to revisit the source material.
I'm very excited about it. When we saw the trailer, which came out, about a week ago?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we were just spazzing, pissing, shitting, puking. Because we finally saw kids being kids.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Yeah, so we're very excited. And in light of that, we are starting our review of the first Harry Potter book. Now, before we get into the content of the chapter, we're going to share how we got to Harry Potter, what it meant to us growing up.
Because I think it gives away our age a lot, that we grew up with Harry Potter. I would consider that a millennial cringe thing, but I am fully embracing the millennial cringe. I am not ashamed of being cringe if it comes to Harry Potter.
You know, this book, all of the books in the series meant a whole lot to me. Harry Potter was the first book that I sat down, read, and I couldn't put down. And it was like the first children's book that didn't have any pictures in it, I would say. So my parents had just split up, and my dad and his friends had gotten this big book of like kids' books, but I thought they were a bit too young. I was 7 and very clearly an experienced reader. I'm joking, I wasn't. But I saw Harry Potter. I thought the cover looked cool. I 100% judged a book by its cover. And I opened up Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
The Philosopher's Stone.
We didn't have any of that trash Sorcerer's Stone nonsense.
As you might know, our listeners, I grew up in Russia. You probably can hear it in my accent. It also was a Philosopher's Stone in Russia because every child in Russia knows what the fuck the Philosopher's Stone is. So
I couldn't put it down. I thought it was great. I was reading this in 2006, 2007, so there was, I think, 4 books out by that point, I want to say. And I can't remember which parent I made drive me to the bookstore, but I made them drive me to the bookstore a few days later, and I was reading the other books as soon as possible. And I liked them so much that my brother refused to read them because, sibling issues, I don't know. But I have always really liked them. The one thing, though, that I didn't remember this until I had, really tried to think about it, because when the 7th book, the final book, came out, it was a huge deal. There was midnight releases, and I remember one of my cousins actually, went to the midnight release, even though he was 13, 14, young.
Quite an adventure.
Quite an adventure. And I hadn't tried to get the book, and I was trying to figure out why. Because, I'd even gone back to the bookstore for other books, seen the final book, and not bought it. And it was because I didn't want the story to end.
Aw,
yeah.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But also, that's kind of a surprising level of restraint for a teenager.
Yeah. Well, I was 12, 13, yeah.
Still a teenager.
Yeah, first year being a teenager, yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. For me, Harry Potter started, unfortunately, not with books, but with movies. I was an avid reader as a child. I would read a lot of stuff. I would read a lot of those children's detective stories from the library. However, Harry Potter kind of completely went over my head until one day a friend of mine who was living just in an apartment above me asked me to come to his birthday. We were just celebrating his birthday, and he was having movies on the TV. And the movie that was on was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So not even the first movie. But I got into this story, so I was watching it with my mouth agape, and it was absolutely amazing. I was like, wow, holy wizards, and giant snake, and whatnot. So Nikki here is quite aware of my history of relationship with my mom, which is not that great, but I have begged and pleaded with my mom to buy me the Harry Potter books. And she was of the belief that reading is good for children, which it is, absolutely. She caved and bought me the first 4 books. At this point, 4 books were out, so she bought me the first 4 books.
Oh my God, I just realized this. We started reading it at the same time.
Probably.
Yeah, well, maybe with a bit of a delay because of the Russian translation, but...
Maybe. So what year it was for you? How old were you? Because you were born in 1999.
9?
Yeah. And I was born in 1993.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was the young chicken here. Anyway, I started reading these books. It was, I think, early 2007 or late 2006.
Oh, so I got into it much earlier.
Oh, when were you reading them?
I believe that it was somewhere in 2003 or 4.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was probably 11. So the age of Harry Potter when he got into Hogwarts, maybe a little bit older. Just a time. Maybe I was 12. I believe might have been 12.
Okay,
But
so
at
you were the actual age of the characters.
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
yes. So the 4 books were out, and I vividly remember when I finished all 4 books, the Goblet of Fire was probably the biggest book I've ever read in my life because it was freaking huge.
Yeah.
It's thick as hell, and even more thick in the Russian translation. And I remember being a brave little chicken nugget of 13 years old and going to the bookstore, local bookstore, and placing a pre-order for the Order of the Phoenix because it hasn't come out yet at this point. And I placed an order, and when the book was in, I had to come in and pay quite a lot of money for this book. As far as I remember, it was around 500 rubles at the year of 2005, I want to say.
Okay, yeah. So quite a lot at that
Quite
point.
a lot at this point. It also was one of the thickest books at this point that I've ever read. And that one I finished overnight, and that was amazing.
Well, I was reviewing just some general information about the books earlier today, and apparently the 5th book is 897 pages long in like the original version that J.K. Rowling wrote. I'm sure there's like variations based on how small or big the print is, but I think for like any kid, that's a huge amount. Or okay. So for context, as we have said, Kseniia is from the motherland, Russia, and anyone who knows Russian literature knows that they like their books thick.
Oh, yeah. Tolstoy would look at Harry Potter and say, "What is that? Those are rookie numbers."
Yep. So maybe it was different for you, but I remember the 5th book took me so long to get through, and I'm like a really quick reader.
Yeah, I know that. She reads quite a lot, my guys. Most of the books in our household will live together. Just to premise that
In a non-gay way.
we are sitting way more than 5 feet apart right now. She reads very quickly. She has a ton of books. I have a little bit of books in our household. Half of them is in Russian. Actually, specifically for this podcast, I have ordered a Russian edition. The first edition, not the first edition, but the edition of the print house that was curating the first print in Russia, which is Rossmann. After that, the book was published by other publishing houses in different translations. And I have to tell you, both translations kind of suck, but the one that I got and the one that I had when I was growing up, it was considered the canon one. It had some changes to names because J.K. loved using the alliteration or names that mean something. So something that's going to be speaking to you as a reader, something that would tell you something about the person that is carrying the name, right? So the translators that were working on the first Rossmann edition, they tried to put that into the Russian translation to convey some of those thoughts, prayers and feelings. However, even the ebook edition in Russian that I'm reading right now to do this podcast, it has a lot of corrections because it's the book translated by an individual interpreter, and he based his translation on the original Rossmann, but with corrections. However, he left the names as they were translated first unchanged because they are considered almost like Russian canon right now because the movie dub was based on this translation and all this stuff. It's a little bit weird, but that is something that I had to figure out when I was a kidlet and reading it. Actually, the Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was the first like full-size book, substantial size book in English I've ever held in my hands and I've ever read. It was an interesting story because when I was, I think, 7th or 8th grade, so 13 probably, maybe 7th grade or 8th grade, I think 7th grade.
Are you trying to translate in your mind from like Russian grade structure to what we use in North America? Yeah, that's what I thought.
This is like one thing that's also actually addressed in this new translation because apparently British floors are different from Russian floors.
Yeah, the British, they use it like the first floor
is the ground floor,
and then the second floor is number one. Floor. Yeah.
So that's the thing. I also had to consult today with my employer, who is a Brit, about a certain phrasing that I found in the book that we were going to discuss further later. Yeah, so that's an interesting world for me to explore from the point of view of somebody who grew up outside of Anglosphere. Even though every Russian kid knows that London is the capital of Great Britain. by heart.
Do they know where Surrey is, though?
I don't think they know where the Surrey is, but I know that Surrey is in British Columbia, right where we are. And also, I had to consult with my employer, who is British, regarding the timeline situation, which we're going to discuss further in the chapter 1, because that was a little bit weird to me. But yes, the first book in English, fully in British English, that I've read was the Harry Potter and Philosopher's Stone. And that's partially how I also studied English. I was reading it with my dictionary, which was a monolingual dictionary because I wanted to make my life harder. So, it's not translating English to Russian. It has the word in English and then it just explains what the hell it is. So I had to figure out it from the context clues.
Wow, okay, so you just didn't like yourself. Interesting enough.
We've lived together for 6 years. No, 5 years. You know that.
Yeah, that's fair. And I hate to break it to you, but it's been like almost 6 years. My first introduction to the films is something where my mind plays tricks on me because I can't remember who was the third film or the fourth film. I remember the movie theater. It was the one at the mall near my house. My dad took me and my brother.
There is no mall near your house.
There is, and it used to have a movie theater. Richmond Center Mall used to have a movie theater in it.
It's nowhere near your house.
It's the closest one to my house.
Okay.
But yes, I remember being terrified, but I can't remember if I was terrified of the mermaid scene in the fourth movie. Our sharp-eared listeners will know that's where Harry is doing the second task and gets attacked by the mer people when he tries to save 2 hostages instead of 1. Or the scene from Prisoner of Azkaban where all the Dementors are feeding off of Sirius and Harry, which
nightmare fuel.
I remember watching both of them, but I can't remember which one I watched first. But I know one of them I watched at this theater. I was young. It was after my parents split up, so post 2006. And it prevented me from watching the next couple movies until I was older.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can understand, especially with the Dementors feeding on Sirius scene, because can you imagine wizard kind? They have found an empirical evidence of the soul existing, and they're just okay with sucking your soul out being an acceptable punishment, right? I'm sorry, what? Are you okay?
As I'm sure our listeners will learn in our future podcast, that is something we should put a pin into because it comes to one of my biggest issues with the books, which is J.K. Rowling isn't the best at world building.
Well, no, she's not. I can subscribe to that.
Yeah.
But she's really good at writing emotions and events. Setting aside all of her personal beliefs, I feel like this series of books is great. We don't talk about The Cursed Child.
Yeah, no, that's not canon. That whole theater show in London that they built a stage for and that's been going on for years and won awards, we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. This is not canon. Yeah. We do not mention that. We don't talk about Bruno. For me, as I mentioned before, this was my introduction to the movies, the second movie at my friend's house. As you might have picked up from before, my relationship with my only parent was not the best. She would not go anywhere with me if it was not market. So I did not go to the movie theaters to see the Harry Potter movies until, I believe, the Half-Blood Prince, where I could do it myself on my own. But I had all the movies on VHS.
Oh, I had them on a DVD. I made my mom go and buy all of them because I wanted to watch all the movies, but they weren't in theater anymore.
Yeah, so I had them on VHS with a pretty good dub, actually. It was a great dub with really good dub actors in Russian. And one interesting point that I want to bring up is that I was also listening to the Russian audiobooks. And as I figured out, because I just started listening to it and I'm like, hey, I know that voice. And it just clicked in my head. But not because I remembered that voice in the movie. I remembered it in the Russian memes about Harry Potter. There's a whole category of Russian memes cut from the movies in Russian dub. And so I remember the meme of Mad-Eye Moody. And I figured out that this voice actor who is reading the book has voiced Mad-Eye Moody in The Goblet of Fire and the other movies too.
It is weird to me as someone who speaks the most popular language in the world, English, where a lot of media comes from, to have I guess it would make sense. If I was really into, foreign media, I would have favorite dubbing actors. Then also, I think, what if you're, really excited about, a new show or movie or whatever coming out, and you're like, God, I hope they get the good dubbers, not like the bad
That's why I kind of abolished the dub.
Sub only.
Yeah, sub only. Since I started watching anime, it was sub only. And thanks to sub only, I've learned and picked up some of the craziest British expressions, like the one that I remembered from The Goblet of Fire. I think it was a bomb expression that Mr. Arthur Weasley delivered when he was answering one of the questions. He said, I haven't the foggiest. And I was like, holy, that's an amazing expression that I'm going to use from now on.
So this is the first time I've heard you say it, but okay. I will concur that this is true. Like in Russia, when the government says something, go, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's...
Doesn't matter if I have no evidence for it or...
Right. I had all of the books in the first ever translation, the Rossmann edition, with the very nice cover art, which is similar to the US issues. But as far as I remember, my Russian editions did not have the chapter art. When the US editions, they seem to have the chapter art. Just a couple of days ago, as you know, I have thrifted the Goblet of Fire from one of the local thrift stores for $2.10, and it was the US edition printed by Scholastic in US, and all of your Harry Potter is printed in Canada, except for...
the one that I got from the library because I lost the fifth one.
And before moving to Canada, I had to give away all of my Harry Potter books, which I regret now deeply, but I just couldn't bring them with me. Also, I had to give away all of my George Martin, which, again...
It's very rough.
It is rough.
I have a story that I think you will find... In time, it's become amusing, but you have to understand that when this happened, this was devastating. My parents split up, but they lived close to each other, so I would spend 1 week with one and 1 week with the other. But I refused to go to either house without all of my Harry Potter books and my Nintendo DS. And as I got more and more books...
You should have seen, I just rolled my eyes.
As I got more and more books, it becomes a bit difficult. And my brother, because sibling issues, refused to help me carry them. So my dad got out a trash bag, and I got to put all of my stuff in the trash bag to help me carry it over. And then I did the walk to my mom's, la-da-da-da-da. And then, so I put it down in the kitchen, and I was like, okay, well, it's, nighttime now. I'm going to go to bed, and tomorrow I'm going to take out all my books and put them away. Anyway.
Wait, foreshadowing. Yeah, is this what the Chekhov's done?
Yeah. So my mom threw out all of my books and my DS and my games and some clothes I had in that bag.
Oh,
yeah.
And tell me that.
Oh yeah, I did. And then I was so sad. I cried and I was screaming at her. And
I would too, honestly.
Yeah. And then my mom started screaming at my dad because, why did you give her a trash bag to put the stuff in?
Honestly, if I screamed at my mom,
you wouldn't be here today talking to me.
Exactly.
Yeah. So my mom, being nice Canadian mother who gave me different issues than the issues your mom gave you, was trying to find on Craigslist and things like replacement books because they weren't cheap books at the time.
They never were cheap.
No, I think they're still quite expensive if you buy them new. Yeah. And so she was trying to find them, and she got most of them, the original versions, the one that you see here, the Rain Coast Scholastic versions, printed in Vancouver, Canada. But
support local.
She got, I think it was the first book and the fifth book were the American versions. So I did for a time have the Sorcerer's Stone.
Ew.
I know, gross. And it had different cover art than all the other books, and it didn't match the side. And the cover art was...
The cover art that I see on your books right now is completely different from what I had in my childhood.
So I think the one that I had, the American version of the Sorcerer's Stone, looks more like what you've shown me from the Russian version, a little bit more cartoonish in the looks. And I just remember looking at it and being like, you're not supposed to be here.
This is so wrong.
Yeah, so...
It's like Mandela effect. Something's wrong here, right? Yeah. You just can't pinpoint what, but except for you can.
Yeah. So then I spent, it wasn't actively looking for new books because I did have them. And also I didn't have any money being a child. But they had Scholastic book fairs that came to my school. And me being the big reader. So for context, at one point I had pre-ordered so many books at the Scholastic book fair that I had to be given a cardboard box to take them all home. But you could also trade books. So I would sometimes, because I couldn't tell my mom that I didn't like the book cover that she had. So I would get other in-demand books and then keep them for a few days to be like, look, Mom, I got the thing you ordered. And then I would trade them. So that's how I got my matching set with the exception of number 5, which I had and then lost again. And then I got a replacement from the library, which was getting rid of theirs.
Oh, I wanted to bring up the second edition, or the second publishing house that bought the license to publish Harry Potter book series in Russia, which was the Macaon house. They have hired a different translator, and that translation was absolute crap. It was a shit show. It was so bad in terms of how many characters in this translation sounded like gopniks. I don't know if our listeners would know this word, but yeah,
a lower class urbanite member of
chav if you're British.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of characters started sounding like chavs. A lot of names became absolutely weird and ridiculous. This translation had so much backlash, they had to change the translator. And also when the translator of this translation, she died, people were happy about that, which...
Ding dong, the witch is dead.
Which I do not condone. I don't think that you should be happy about anyone dying, except maybe if it's Jeffrey Epstein. Yes. I believe that both publishing houses are publishing their own translations of it right now, and the cover art for the Macaon editions is the same as what is available in the local stores right now.
Now, I have to ask the very important question. As we know, to make Tom Marvolo Riddle mean I am Lord Voldemort, in different languages, the middle name had to be changed. I believe the very famous example is that in French, it's Tom Elvis Riddle. Yeah. So in Russian... in Russian, what is Tom Riddle's middle name?
So in Russian, there was a little bit of a different issue that you would run into, because the translators of the first edition, they were a little bit willy-nilly with the translations, and probably one of the translators was trying to nod at a character in Russian literature that he thought probably would be more familiar for a Russian reader. And I mean Voland from the Bulgakov's Master Margarita.
Makes sense.
So instead of Voldemort, in Russian he is Volandemort. So there's a few letters added in there. So I don't know if that was actually a good move, because if you are a kidlet, you probably have not read Bulgakov yet. And I feel like it's just harder to pronounce. Voldemort versus Volandemort. So there was not much to change in Tom Marvolo Riddle's name to fit the Volandemort. It's just they had to change M to N. So instead of Tom Marvolo Reed, he was Tom Narvolo Reed. Riddle, not Reed. Spencer, get out.
We have a Russian here just changing the original text willy-nilly, which she so harshly criticized translators for doing not a moment ago. Hypocrisy much.
Damn.
It's interesting. So I am a Canadian, and so I was in years of French classes and French tutoring so that I can now poorly order things at a restaurant. Anyway, I asked my French tutor, because I was trying to figure out how novels are written in French when they're trying to convey a certain accent, because as any good reader of Harry Potter will know, they change how the words are written when Hagrid is speaking to communicate his accent to you. And I don't think I was explaining this very well to my French tutor, because she was like, in France, we do not do this.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm just like, and at the time, I was just like, well, giving up on this quest. But now I'm really curious, like, did they ever do that? Because also French is one of those languages, I think Russian's the same one, where there is like a national institute which says like, this is how you speak French. Yeah. Exactly. And this is how you write French, where we do not have that in English.
Also, both languages are gendered, which is an issue in its own. But in Russian, Hagrid just speaks more vernacular language than the other people around him. So it still reads as him coming through as a little bit of a more like simple.
I was going to use the word common
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the implication is with both of those, with both the translation and the original, is that Hagrid is...
He's not a great thinker, but he has a good heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
And McGonagall does...
Yeah.
She does not question that.
She does not question the second part, and I think she would concur with us on the first. Yeah.
So I want to talk actually about our recent experience. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was there, yes.
She was there with me. We went to the Vancouver Fan Expo specifically because there were quite a few panels that we wanted to see. And one of them was a panel with the cast of Harry Potter. So it was the Phelps twins and Matthew Lewis.
So for context, cast of Harry Potter in Vancouver means the actors who played Fred and George Weasley and the actor who played Neville Longbottom.
Exactly.
Because we're not a big, we're not like the New York Comic Con. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're not Toronto Fan X, but we're not Santa Monica. Oh, we're just like
The one in California.
We're not California, even though it's not too far.
Yeah.
But yes, so Fred and George, my favorite characters in the whole story. Phelps twins came here, and I just had to get their autographs. And also Matthew Lewis, the sweet boy Neville, was here. It was a great experience. I loved the Fan Expo. I loved talking to the Phelps twins. It was such a weird experience, though, because now that I've talked to both of them, I understand why people were so confused by talking to Fred and George, because those two, they speak at the same time, and you don't know who to pay attention to, and you get just bamboozled. And that's what it. So, like, first of all, I was already flustered, right? Mm-hmm. Because I'm coming up to those two beautiful 6'3" men, and I'm asking for an autograph, and I'm in my cosplay. I'm also like, I look quite good in the cosplay. It's still like, it's not me. It's my character, right? Mm-hmm. So I come up and I'm like, oh, you know what? It's my birthday. And they're like, happy birthday. Like at the same time, like, holy crap. Who do I look at? Who do I listen to? So this was very overwhelming. I was quite happy about that. And then we went to see their panel, mm-hmm. and it showed that they've done this a few times.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. For context, listeners, Kseniia and I had a thing we kind of determined where some actors and actresses or other people of note know what to do at a Comic-Con type situation, and others seem rather confused at the entire situation. And the ones who know what they're doing are having a good time because they understand it's a bit of a performance in itself.
Yes.
Where the other ones are so confused and just, not very entertaining.
So I got confused and spent $200 Canadian, hard-earned Canadian dollars on the autographs of Oliver and James Phelps.
Oh, let's not sell yourself short. You also crocheted them little versions of their characters wearing the Vancouver Canucks jerseys.
Yes, because once I saw this picture of James and Oliver wearing the Edmonton Oilers, mm-hmm. The team made them the jerseys that both said Weasley on the back, and they wore those jerseys, and I saw that photo, and I was like, rude. And now they're coming to Vancouver, and I'm like, this is the chance, because I cannot make them full-size versions because I'm not that good of a seamstress. I could not make a full-size versions of Vancouver Canucks jerseys. Also, licensing issues. They mm-hmm. probably could have sued me. But I did crochet small amigurumis of Fred and George without one ear. I just assumed he probably had injured it in one of the post-hockey game fights.
Post-hockey? So you fight during the hockey?
During hockey game fights. And I dressed them in the small, little, tiny Vancouver Canucks jerseys. And oh my God, they loved them. The Phelps twins loved them.
I'm not going to lie. I felt the idea of paying for autographs weird, but that was very sweet. Their faces when you did that were very, very sweet.
When you saw that.
Yeah, I was... There's only so much to do at these fan expos, and she was in line for a while. So by the end, I just started watching them like a creep. You know the song "I'll Be Watching You"? Yeah, that was me.
The Police.
Yeah,
but it was an overwhelming experience, but it was also a fun experience. I've been a visitor of expos back in Russia as well. Of course, they're smaller. There are no celebrities, but there is much more to do in terms of interactivity and actual participation. So there is more cosplay stuff. There's cosplay scenes when people in cosplay actually reenact something. There's karaoke segments. There's some dancing segments. So there's a lot to do. And there's no celebrities because who the hell is going to come to Russia? Especially now.
I came, but yes.
You're weird.
Yeah.
You have depression.
And I wanted to go to a country that has depression as well to feel normal. Exactly. Yeah.
So at one of those conventions, there was a Harry Potter quiz. And I almost won it completely. It would be one question away from winning it. It was a 40-question quiz going from very easy to super specific, very hard questions. And the only question I could not answer was a very specific question that was some extracurricular reading on Pottermore, because the question was, what was the name of the mother of Sirius Black? And I didn't know.
I had a similar incident at a summer camp I was at where The context isn't relevant. Essentially, before talk, there was like a question, and if someone answered it, they got like a little prize. And the questions were like, one of them was, who was Draco Malfoy married to?
Okay.
And then there was like sub questions. So it's like, how did they meet? And like, what year was she in Hogwarts? And I was just like, what? No, I know he was married in the 17 years later thing, but who is this? Did they mention her name? And I didn't know, and nobody knew, and so no one got the prize. And then I went up to the camp leader later. I'm like, that's not in the original content. And she was like, it was on a story on Pottermore. Aren't you on Pottermore?
Yes, it was. By the way, what is your Patronus?
Oh, gosh. I know we did the test. I can't remember.
We're both in Ravenclaw.
Yeah, we're both in Ravenclaw. I remember that. It wasn't a cat. I remember that.
Mine is cat. Mine is a Siberian cat because prejudice much.
Wow.
So I come from Russia. That means I have a Siberian cat as a Patronus. Wow.
It wasn't like a notable animal. I'm trying to remember.
Canada Goose?
No, it wasn't. That would have been great.
Canada Moose?
No, I can't remember. For our next time, I'll check it up. I'll look at my Pottermore account and try and see. So for context, when I was a kid, I did get a Pottermore account. And I wasn't sorted into Gryffindor, and I was just like, this doesn't understand me.
Bullshit.
This is bullshit. And I never looked at it again.
When I was a kid, I was sorted into Slytherin, and I was like, oh, okay.
I was sorted into Ravenclaw, and then I got sorted into Ravenclaw again as an adult, so I think it knew me.
Yeah, and I was a Slytherin when I was a chicken nugget, and now I'm a Ravenclaw. So I guess some things change.
Yeah. But it is interesting. This memory just came up in our like second meeting. So for context, we met in Russia. I was over there trying to learn Russian. Didn't succeed, but we met up there. And in our second meeting, because I was trying to find books to read, like kids' books in Russian to work on it. And I was like buying like picture books. You recommended getting Harry Potter, but not the new translation. And you told me exactly, you're like, you got to go online and look for the old translation. I was like, oh, okay. But I was like too nervous to meet up with a stranger in Russia and buy it from them online. And
so you were like looking on the marketplace or something.
Yeah. And I was just like, nope, not doing it.
You didn't go to Dom Knigi?
No. Well, I did go to Dom Knigi, but they just had the new translation. Yeah. So I did ask a person who worked there. I found someone who spoke English, and I'm like, do you have the old translation? And they did not.
So, yes, at some point, the old translation was just out of print because the rights were transferred from one publishing house to another publishing house. As far as I understand right now, both publishing houses have the rights to publish their own translations. But back then, yes, that's why also the prices of old translations just skyrocketed. It was so expensive.
Well, as a wealthy foreigner, I didn't see that. But no, I'm just joking with you guys.
I rolled my eyes again.
So the reason why I say that is because the rubles are... There's been, it's one of those currencies that changes quite a lot. But something that hadn't changed is like...
How shitty it is.
So, like, okay, like, at the time, like, 20 Canadian bucks was, like, 2,000 rubles. And when you're buying stuff in a different currency where, like, there's a lot more zeros at the end, it all just starts feeling like Monopoly money. So I didn't even notice how much things cost when I was buying them. I was just like, okay, how many rubles do I have this month? Okay, yeah, I can afford this. But, like, I didn't know what the value of anything was.
Do you know the value of labor?
In Russia? No, I do not. In here, I eventually got the third book in the translation to practice my Russian on. And as you're aware, it didn't go well because I no longer understand most or speak Russian. But for a while, I was kind of good at it. So that's our history with the books.
And I still believe that this book series is probably one of the best book series that I've ever read, just because of the messages inside, not necessarily because of who wrote it, but because of the events and the experiences that are tied to this book for me. So I have experienced quite a few interesting, heartbreaking, and happy occurrences tied to those books. I believe that the messaging in there is mostly very nice, and it's conveyed in a way that is accessible to kids, and this book series allows kids to grow together with the book series. The narrative and narrative language grows together with the reader. Right now, when we are on the verge of a new series being launched, which we're very excited about because we want to see the TV series format, because I personally believe that it's going to just embody more of the source material and we could probably see something from other points of views. I would love to see Fred and George just like pranking everyone at the school, just like going around and like sneaking and doing their stuff and just see their POV, because wouldn't it be wild to see them like looking at the Marauders map and being like, oh, who the hell is that in Ron's bed? Peter, I guess our brother's gay. Cool.
So building on your earlier point, not the part about Peter Pettigrew, there's two things needed to make a book great. First, it's the book, and there's a lot in there. But the second thing is your reaction and your relationship to the book. Because you can have a book which is like perfect in the sense that it has like the perfect, ideally structured plot and it has great language or whatever. But if it doesn't mean anything to you, it's not really that great of a book. As an adult reading these books, it's sometimes there's certain things where I'm just like, oh, these kids are so stupid. Or, oh, I see that that's not like the best writing or something like that. But I recently, in order for this podcast, got the full cast audio edition of Harry Potter, because why be good with my money? That's a stupid idea. And it just brought me back immediately. And I was like, there's a certain magic to this.
This is also why I like rewatching Harry Potter movies around Christmas time, because it just brings you back. It gives you this sense of nostalgia it's very hard to come by, this wonderful sense of nostalgia, this wonderful feeling that you have when you're experiencing something again. This is one of those works of art where you would love to erase everything you know about it from your mind and experience it all over again. And I hope we can do that with the new series. I'm actually very excited about it. Mm-hmm. I know that a lot of people are not very receptive of some of the casting of the new TV series.
She's hinting at racism.
Yes, I'm hinting at racism, but I'm just trying to be a little bit softer with my wording. I really want to see what they do with that.
I think it'll be really fun, and I'm sure we'll be here with our opinions into the microphone about it.
Awesome. So with that, we are wrapping up our intro into the world of Harry Potter from the point of view of two girls, one plot, and next episode, we will dive into the first chapter of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
We'll be glad to see you there.
Bye-bye.